Hello, and this is the Anime Outlook, and welcome to the chapter 209 and 210 of World Trigger Review. Now, this is a very special week because we have the two chapters, and I've decided to do both in one video. Now, before I get into the chapter and express how I feel about it and what just happened in general, do hit that like and subscribe button and comment as well, because I do like to talk to you guys and it does help the video. So thank you, and let's get to the chapter review. So this chapter is yet another heavy chapter on the dialogue, which, to be honest, I am a big fan of, and that's why I like World Trigger, so lucky us. Now, the chapter of 209 starts where we left off with the team squads getting assigned their first special assignment. Now, what we see from this is that most likely all special assignments will be received by all squads at the same time, as well as the fact that the viewpoint we're going for in this arc is not just going to be Osamu and their squad on the away mission test. We're getting points of views from every single squad, which might mean this arc might be a very long arc, because as I said in my last chapter review, if you wanted to keep the arc short and steady, he'd have just Osamu and their squad and what happens in their little escape room, and not anyone else's, and just have like flashbacks and funny panels of stuff that happened in the other squads in the future. But from what it seems, we're getting just every single squad, and from this first panel we see that they've been assigned their first assignment, and already Mizukami is just going, well, this is going to be a pain in the butt, which is very interesting as we're getting to know his character quite a lot through this test, and that he's quite the odd one out in his methods. So the first assignment is just a basic question to all the teams. Why do you think your squads were shuffled for the purposes of this test? Think over the possible reasons as a team, compile your opinions, and submit your response. This is an odd question because they've already been told that they have to do this test because the rank wars had to be put on hold. But as Oki brings up, if it was just a substitute for the rank wars, they would most likely be in their original squads. So it brings the question, why? And this is basically a chapter of the squads being us, the audience, just theorizing as to why this test is happening, how it's going to be graded. It's just giving us loads of answers and seeing their opinion and giving us just hints at what the possible reasonings could be. Now, first we go over to Mizukami's squad, in which they start theorizing whether the question is looking for a correct answer picked out by the management, or if they just submit their own personal opinions. Which is a very good question, because obviously you've got your set of reasoning as to why they're doing it, because board and management obviously knows why they're doing it because they set it up. However, they might be looking for just the individuality and learning more about the personality of their soldiers, just looking at this glimpse of the text. And as Mizukami's squad says, it's for a human resource perspective, and they decide on not thinking about some hypothetical correct answer and just giving their honest opinions. Then we move on to Kadera's squad. Now, Kadera instantly says spend 20 minutes coming up with the answers and then take 10 minutes to write up the report and submit. He's being efficient, and as he is known for being a star student and very smart, this very fits his style and goes along with his character. Then we move on to Kakizaki's squad, and this is where you got some interaction between Kaguera and Oki, mentioning his thoughts, and Oki just being, if so, they wouldn't be asking us, right? A little sarcastic, a little playful from Oki. I'm not sure if Oki actually likes Kaguera or if they've got some history. It seems to be quite odd, their relationship. Moving to Kitazo's squad, they instantly think of different opinions, going through each of the squads, thinking about how this is actually a stress test to see how long they could fare on a journey with practically strangers. And then you've just got the funny comments from Minamisawa mentioning how if they wanted to stress them out, they'd put them up against the people that they said they would prefer not to be with. And that's quite funny because Kuchikawa, the two people he did not want to be with, he ended up in the same squad. So it's obviously kind of true that they want to stress them out and see what they can do in this environment. And it's just funny that Kuchikawa is just realizing the lottery was rigged. Then we move on to Wakamura's squad, about why this test is happening and whether they'll be with a different squad if, let's say, one of the members goes on the away mission, who will replace them for the rank wars and for their missions on Earth. Then we move on to Kuruma's squad. Now, just a brief bit before I move on to the next part is just that I'm really liking the fact that we get to see all these different perspectives and all these fresh ideas as to into the minds of the squads themselves and the characters. Because we've got such a large cast, it's nice realizing what some of their true thoughts are and what their instant view on the test is. From, as you see with Kuruma's squad next, is that instantly says to reassure his team, don't worry about crafting the perfect answer, we just need to compile our full response and get some points. And then you got the instant comeback with, because it's fresh and fun. To be honest, I really hoped that would be the answer. I really hoped it would just be, it's fresh, it's fun, it's something new. But this is a company and it is a militaristic one at that. But it's nice and fun to see the free-spirited ones get their answer of just, it's fresh and fun. And we get some real nice interactions between Asano and Ozawa being very playful with each other, and I'm liking this relationship between the two. They seem to be having a lot of fun. Then we see Murakami's squad filled with very responsible people, and they're just coming up with appropriate answers, mentioning that this test could show the weaknesses of squads and their members. But then a very interesting part of this chapter is the Ninomiya squad part. Firstly, we get the mention of that Mikumo, Wakamura, and a lot of members from other squads. They're all individuals who rely heavily on their squad mates. They mention that this might be a test in which to make those members become less dependent in both battle scenarios and just tactically for the better, so in making sure everyone in this test improves. Analysing Kaguera's squad and showing off that Ninomiya really understands how it is to be a leader and understands the people under him and even under other squads. He's got a keen eye from what we see in this chapter, and he's especially interested in it and how Mikumo will do without his usual band of allies who respect him. And we get to feel some tension within the Ninomiya squad about the past, the mystery of the sniper that ran away with Chika's brother. Something that we don't understand yet, and giving us a little hint in that the story is progressing and that we're not just in this stalemate of the away mission. Because even though I do love all this dialogue and all this theorizing, even though it's technically not necessary, I really do enjoy it. However, I do want more progression of the story personally, and if the future chapters carry on like this, it will start to become slightly draining, I feel, because we need some more progression, we need some more movement in the story, or just within the characters themselves. This chapter and the next chapter do feel a bit textbook-like because there aren't as many character interactions in a sense. Most of them are just giving opinions. There's not much reaction and action there between characters. It's more just people stating opinions and writing them down, which I'm all for because I'm interested in seeing into these characters. However, one thing I love about World Trigger is the character interactions, and if we're not having action or progression in the story or character interactions, it's getting a bit stiff for me. But moving on to the last part of the chapter of 209, where we come back to our sewer squad of Mikumo, Katori, and they wonder how the captains were chosen. And we get some teasing between Katori and Suwa about her wanting to be captain or not, and Katori's being cute, as usual. They came up to a very similar opinion of that I did, and that they're probably being the captains are probably being tested as candidates for the next generation of squad captains. However, I didn't think about the captains that were chosen that are already captains of their own squads being tested to become management material. And Suwa just casually explains that borders got to expand going forward, and more agents means more than the director can handle all on his own. Just bringing up the fact that Border is a business and it's not some superhero agency, it's not some exorcist school, it's an actual institution that needs money, needs funding, needs a good way to branch out and gain more soldiers. But then we're left off with a nice cliffhanger of which there's a blackout in Suwa's squad compartment, and it's because the lights had run out of Treon, which is already something that we're getting into. The fact that Mikumo's touching of and turning on the lights was not enough that long. It only lasted less than 2 hours just from Mikumo's initial touch and charging. So Mikumo goes to charge it again. When Mikumo goes back to his laptop, it doesn't seem to be turning on, leaving us on a very nice cliffhanger in which what could happen. But luckily for us, we have the next chapter. Chapter 209 was an alright chapter. It gave us some opinions, gave us some theories about management and why this test is happening. But I feel that in our next update from World Trigger, if we don't get more progression, the story might start to feel more like Hunter x Hunter, in that people complain that some Hunter x Hunter is just too much dialogue. I love World Trigger, but I hope it doesn't stick on this path of so much dialogue in one chapter. Like, every once in a while is fine, and I do love learning more about characters and going through these processes, and I love this chapter, but I just hope it doesn't continue like this. Then we move on to chapter 210, where we just left off. Mikumo's computer was dead. Now we start off with Katori just yelling at Mikumo, telling him that he just broke it already. And I love this interaction between Katori and Mikumo, because Osamu is just so honest, just going, I don't think I was particularly rough with it, and actually taking Katori's offensive question just legitimately. And then Sua comes in with the rescue, and with an answer. Osamu had run out of Treon just from charging the lights twice, and they test this out by letting Osamu charge the lights again, but as Oki states, it's not charging at all. Now this made me realise that Osamu really does have quite the low amount of Treon, and so I looked at his border briefing files, and his Treon level is actually 2, which I was surprised at and previously did not know. But I'm actually very surprised that his Treon ran out so quick. Now this begs the question, how is his Treon body still on? Is it just automatic, or is there some sort of pokery jiggery going on? I'm not sure, but maybe we'll get an answer next time, maybe we won't. But surely Treon body uses up Treon as it goes, and that's how we've been told it is so far. But as well as that, I'm not sure as what the time is. It might be past 9 o'clock, and he's not using his Treon body. But other than that, we move on, and Katori just keeps attacking Osamu, just showing her dislike for him. And to be honest, I'm loving these interactions between the two. Just her going, what were you thinking? You know your Treon levels are trashed here. And Osamu just being so flustered all the time. It's really nice to see Katori take charge, be aggressive, and Osamu just taking it. It's a very interesting relationship that we haven't particularly seen in World Trigger yet, and Osamu just responding to her comments with and being very passive aggressive in his mind, just going, you're the one who told me to touch the panel earlier. However, the Sewer Squad comes up to the idea of that Osamu won't be charging any Treon outlets because he has such little, and they'll do rotations between the 4 of the rest. But then we got the issue of how will Osamu do all his work? And this had a very easy solution of that. Osamu takes pictures of the questions from somebody else, works them out on paper, and then uploads them the next morning. However, this also gives Sua and the other members just the idea of that they're not stuck to the times that they can use their Treon. They can actually work on the questions after 7 PM, meaning they can do a lot more work than they originally thought, which is very innovative and interesting, because a lot of squads might just stick to the time limit, and then once that time's over, lays off because they don't particularly want to do the maths questions, the geography questions, because they're going through these questions and having to answer a lot of them. If they work on them after schedule, basically doing overtime on pen and paper, and then it's very quick to upload. However, that's all we see from the squads initially in this chapter, and we then move to management of the Selection Test Control Center, them going through each squad, just mentioning how someone from OG's squad said they shuffled the squads to make it feel more like a festival and asked for the festival to be a yearly event. And this is obviously a coma, because who else would say such things? And we just get the response from management saying that some people are embracing the test mindset too much and some aren't. I also do love this chapter because we get to see what the management think about the answers, what the A rank agents think about the answers as well. The fact that they're dealing out points to, and we see who's dealing out points and why. Now, I'm not going to go too much into this because that would be so much to explain, and I'm not here to tell you the chapter, I'm just here to go through it and give you my review. But what really stands out within this chapter is that my Some comes up with a really good answer and basically gets it spot on when in discussion. And this answer actually kind of terrifies me in a sense, because it's showing that Some is becoming a more prevalent character within the story. Something that I do fear slightly, because as you've seen from a past theory video of mine, she might be a bit dangerous and a bit insane, or a bit like a bit of a sociopath. However, that's just a theory. But my Some is so logical and so thought out, it's kind of worrying, because her conclusion and what basically management tells us is the reasoning as to why they've shuffled the squads. It's in order to simulate the advancement to B ranks, basically creating an environment of which they have to start over again from D rank, form groups and make their way up B ranks back to step 1, seeing if with the added experience how each of them will think, how they'll behave, so upper management can be running a massive experiment. And this is to put to use the experience that they've gained throughout the years, forcing them to mobilize the necessary knowledge and experience and transform that ability into something more tangible. As well as this, what I love is that they've included the A ranks, and the reasoning is that they can learn to evaluate B rank agents, so that management can rely on A ranks and teach them how to form B rank squads and analyze them so they in the future, so upper management doesn't have to do everything when border gets so big. It's all data to help form new squads, and this is so good and so interesting, because this is something I never would have thought of. Personally, it came out of nowhere, and it's really interesting how logical and how business-like this method of the test is. It's basically making sure that everyone improves in this test, as well as learning. This away mission test is basically a method in which to make everyone improve and help Border become more successful in the future. It's not just to decide who goes on the away mission, it's not just to challenge them, it's not just to evaluate them in that sense, it's to actually progress Border as a business, as a military for the Earth, because the neighborhood is so anything unlike on our world that they need to be prepared and grow in size. Now, I know I'm not doing a lot of theorizing and talking much about my own opinions, because there's not particularly much to talk about. We're just getting given facts, which I'm just finding really interesting. And also the fact that OG also basically got the same answer, showing that he's on the same level as Some. Then we move on and see that Hughes and Yuma both said that shuffling the squads is a dress rehearsal in the events that some agents perish on the mission and squads have to be rearranged on the fly. And we get to see who gave points, and we get to see that Konami took away a point and gave them negative points because it's such a pessimistic way to look at it. However, it's realistic because they've both gone through wars and it's a very neighbor-like answer. So all the squads are getting positive and negative markings from each individual A rank agent, and they're actually giving reasons why, such as Osamu getting some points from some A ranks for figuring out how to go past the system of running out of Trion by taking pictures and writing the answers out afterwards. But when we come to the end, we see that the special assignment and the current rankings of our squads is that Sewer Squad is last place, and we get to see that Sewer's just taking it in stride, something I'm really liking. He's calm, collected, and really trying to take the leader role sincerely and properly, and just goes, well, I guess we just have to take this for what it is. However, they're not tremendously behind in points, as it is just the first day within the test. Now, that ends the 2 chapters of World Trigger that came out this month. There's not much to say because we're just given facts and opinions of characters, not much progression in the story. But overall, these 2 chapters gave us a whole as to what this test is going to be like. And what I feel from these 2 chapters is that from the next few chapters, we'll just get some, let's say, montage. In a sense, a few days will skip past, just them doing their routine works. Then we'll have some chapters about learning the rules of the gaming battles, and then we'll have another skip to another special assignment, get some more dialogue about that, and then we'll have a montage skip to the end of the first phase, because I'm hoping this first phase doesn't last too long, because it could start to really drag, because if we're getting this much fuel, and goodbye.